important message.
Be quiet. My mama said, you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say it at all. We'll just leave it as that. Man, you gotta play. I don't care if you out the playoffs or not. I don't care. Just come up, show up, play. That's why we play this game. Show up, play.
Do you feel like everyone's been doing that?
I don't. I really don't. Just going through the motions, but like everybody just playing to get through.
Well, it almost feels like the Falcons and Rams offensives have traded places. The Rams enter the postseason as the league's top scoring offense. That was the Falcons last year. LA has the largest increase from last season in scoring. Matt Ryan's downfield passing game could be a key reason why the Falcons have slipped. Ryan was the best in the league last year on throws 15 yards or more downfield, but those numbers have dropped immensely from his 2016 MVP campaign. And of course, it took this Falcons offense, it seemed like anyway, a little bit of time to sort of get on track and look like the machine they were last season. So as we look at these pivotal matchups, because it's the game within the game, if you will, let's start at the top with the quarterbacks. And you know what? I'm not going to let Lewis weigh in here, not yet, because really? That's a known commodity. I know where he's going, yes. Matt Ryan or Jared Goff.
Statistics support me.
Yeah, well, listen, you're next. Let's let
the
Tim.
Statistics support you. You know what else does? How Matt Ryan struggled this year.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
So I actually think the advantage, based on how the guys are playing now, benefit the Rams. I think Jared Goff has played better than Matt Ryan. I think you look at some of the games Matt Ryan, it appears that their offense has struggled. I know that you've talked about it. I've talked about it. I think Matt Ryan, in some cases, has held them back a little bit.
Yeah. The timing, the rhythm of their offense, particularly in the red zone, throwing the football, just does not look even close to 2016. Some of the clean pocket, big window throws just have not been there. Now, that's not to say that the wide receivers haven't always helped them, because I'll tell you what, sometimes these guys aren't getting off the line of scrimmage very clean, and they're definitely not finishing with catches very cleanly. They've had way too many drops. But right now, in totality, everything that's supporting Jared Goff leads to him, obviously, I believe, having the matchup.
So we'll talk about those wide receivers in just a minute, but you've got Devontae Freeman here and then a two-headed monster over here, really. So who has the edge on the ground?
It's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gurley.
Yeah.
Just because, he's just a three-down dynamo right now that right now should be maybe the league MVP. And as much as I respect Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, look, Todd right now, because of how they're calling plays and the rhythm that they're in right now, it's just insane how these two guys have gone from 2016 to 2017 and look like totally different players, meaning him and Goff.
You know what, this is one of those situations where you hate that there's got to be a loser in the decision. It really is, because I think both Atlanta backs are
right. We got three good players up here.
Are good players. And you look at some of the things that, Devontae Freeman, to me, he would make a lot of teams significantly better. I think he's that type of runner. Todd Gurley, though, is a special player. I think at a different level type of player than even the two Falcons backs. And his versatility, I think, probably was a little bit unnoticed, a year ago for sure, but 2 years ago. He's been very good in the passing game, I believe.
When you do it like this, sometimes you can get to the conclusion pretty quickly.
Sure.
I can sort of see where we're headed. How about the wideouts?
It's Atlanta for me.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't disagree. I wouldn't disagree.
How you doing?
Come on, Wendy, let's go.
Look at that.
There you go.
Oh. All right.
This is a group. Look, this is a group that I believe has underachieved. Julio, in particular, can be one of those guys who can go for 220 or 20 in consecutive weeks, and that is just maddening. Mohamed Sanu is an absolute stud. He's a beast. Hardy, these guys is a good third wide receiver. The tight end group is good, and even the backs, as part of being the pass catchers, are very good here. So this one's a close one here, because the Rams wide receiver group is very much so underrated because of how Todd has looked and because of how Jared has looked in conjunction with Todd. But you have to give the individual matchup here to the Falcons.
All right, we're going to talk about the defense in just a minute, but let's turn to Josina Anderson now. Josina, before we do, some information on the Falcons defensive coordinator.
Well, it's interesting, guys, because you have to remember in 2014, this Falcons defense was ranked dead last before Dan Quinn and Marquand Manuel came over to Atlanta. And before he was named defensive coordinator last year, 25th and 27th in yards per game allowed and points per game allowed. Now they are 10th top 10 in those categories. They are winning games on defense like they did this Sunday against the Panthers, keeping Cam Newton to 1 touchdown. And it's interesting because you have to remember he's working with the defense that is very young in the secondary. Nobody drafted before 2015 with the linebacker row. When I talked to Deion Jones, he said this is the guy that has the presence, the voice, and is commanding the attention with the guys in that locker room, talks to everybody on offense and defense before the games, and is really willing them right now. So very interesting, guys, to see how they do against this Rams team that is leading the lead in points per game scored right now.
JoJo, thank you. All right, so on paper, anyway, the edge when it comes to the defense.
I think we disagree on this one would be my guess.
Go ahead. You go. I'm going to go Falcons on this one.
Oh, we don't disagree.
No, we don't. And I'll tell you why, because I think they have tremendous team speed, and I trust their secondary as far as individuals are concerned, individual coverage players and their linebackers, maybe a little bit more than I trust the Rams secondary players, who I think if the Falcons can make their way down to the red area, I think they will be able to throw the football better against the Rams than they have thrown it against anyone, because I don't like the Rams secondary very much. Now, obviously, the Rams have the best defensive player in the history of the game in Aaron Donald. The history of the game?
The history
of the game. But,
the
you know what,
game.
I think as a unit, I'll go with the Falcons.
Well, listen,
no hyperbole here.
I agree with Lewis, especially just the team speed. Atlanta's defense is impressive. Here's the deal with the Rams. Rams giving up 4.7 yards per carry. That is a massive number on the season for a team that has played with the lead as much as the Rams have played with the lead. And so you go back to Kerwin Williams rushing for nearly 100 yards against them. Latavius Murray having a crazy day against them for a defense that has the best defensive player in the history of the league.
Of the game.
History
And
of the game.
And look, and other, to be honest with you, some other really capable players on that defense. That's shocking to me. It's absolutely shocking to me to be giving up that type of success on the ground. And so I think the Rams are a little vulnerable there.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel almost silly with this last one. You know, you've got a veteran head coach who's a year removed from the Super Bowl. You've got just, I mean, boy wonder here, who, I mean, you cannot argue with what he's done. So, you know, I don't know if I even want to ask you who has the edge, but how about this? It's a new year. What do each bring to this game? What respective talents do they bring to the table? That's a better way to ask it.
I think McVay's got an amazing feel in terms of calling a game. I think that's something that I don't know that always can be learned. His feel is impressive. The other thing he's got going for him is, and he's made the right decision when he took the job. He hired a defense coordinator that can just handle that. And he's got a very experienced one on that side of the ball. So that's what I think he brings to the table. That's great. In terms of Dan Quinn, I think what he's done is he has developed a culture there that's similar to Seattle's in terms of the way they fly around and compete. I think the challenge they have offensively, and not that Steve Sarkisian's not a good play caller, but I think there are elements. Saying Matt Ryan was at fault, you know, in some of their struggles, but I think part of it too is a change as a play caller.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Like I echo pretty much everything he says. Look, Dan has the benefit of experience.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm sure there will be times, maybe as they get in here into the wild card round and if they're able to advance further, that he'll remember the lessons learned from that Super Bowl. And it will serve him well, especially now that it's one and done. But Sean, right now, you're right, he is boy wonder. He has a tremendous feel, and you're right. It's just instinctive. It's just in him, and you can see it.
The 31-year-old McVay, the youngest coach to make the playoffs in either the NFL or the AFL in all of football history, as Lewis would say.
Aaron Donald.
On my boy! Get in! Touchdown!
Honestly, we could have just done a whole show with Bill's reaction. It would be fine by me. I cannot get enough. We'll talk about more of the reaction in Buffalo and what it's meant to Andy Dalton.
Yeah, we've come to under $50
sports leagues. Which brings us to our Bridgestone Clutch performance. Bengals Andy Dalton, why not, finding Tyler Boyd, who runs it in for the 49-yard game-winning touchdown with 45 seconds to go. This Bengals win allowed the Bills to reach the postseason. And after the Bengals' dramatic win against the Ravens, the Bills, of course, got to the playoffs, and the Bills fans are donating to Andy Dalton's foundation. He noticed that money was pouring in, and that it was often in $17 increments, a reference to the 17-season playoff drought, which has now been broken. On Monday, Dalton tweeted, "To all the Bills fans that are donating to my foundation, thank you. We appreciate the support. If you are interested in donating, visit andydalton.org. Later in the day, he posted, In the last 24 hours since the first donation came in, over 2,500 donors and just over $57,000 and counting. Last update for the night. Well, there's since been a number of updates, and the donations are in excess of $100,000 from happy Bills fans who appreciate Andy Dalton. Of course, all of that money going to a very good cause. Adam Schefter back with us. And Adam, now that they are in, the Bills would, of course, like to win. LaShawn McCoy would certainly help that cause. What is his status?
I'm told it's going to be a game day decision, Wendy, that there's a chance that he's going to be able to go. It's going to be close whether or not he can get back out there. Again, when he was carted off the field, this sounds like a best-case scenario right now for the Buffalo Bills and their fans, because I think when the fans saw him carted off, they didn't think there was any chance he'd be able to play again this season. But the fact of the matter is, there is a chance. He's nursing a sprained ankle. The x-rays were negative. He's obviously going to go through a lot of rest and rehab this week to see if he can get back out there on Sunday. You want to be back out there for a game that has generated so much money, and that's awesome for Andy Dalton, his foundation, and that has gotten the Buffalo Bills back to the postseason. Again, LaShawn McCoy, a chance for Sunday. It should be a game day decision.
Coming down to the wire, Adam Schefter, thank you.
Touchdown! Adam Thielen! And the celebration begins.
It's been a year to remember in the NFL. Coming up on NFL Live, we'll look back at the wild moments and creative celebrations with our images of the year.
Clutch Performance is brought to you by Bridgestone. Bridgestone's Clutch Performance Drive Guard tires can take a puncture and keep going for up to 50 miles. At Taco Bell, the dollar gets you access to more. Like the new $1 stacker.
In the postseason, moments like that, Kyle Williams, that's like Jim Burt with his kids out in the field back at the Giants days. Love seeing that. What players still caring.
Adam Schefter, your image of the year.
Yeah, there are so many. Carson Wentz limping off the field in Los Angeles, but the one I'm going to go with right now, Wendy, is empty seats, because it's a reflection of the concern for the state of the game right now. Fans staying away, anthem issues, concussions, concern for the game right now with those empty seats.
All right, JoJo.
It's J.J. Watt right there getting ready to distribute supplies and resources to the entire Houston area after Hurricane Harvey, a hurricane that killed 75 people, left thousands stranded after originally setting a goal of 200,000 to raise $37 million. That is the best of the NFL.
That gave me chills, and I've seen it a number of times, but still, it never gets old.
Thank you for going positive after Adam went so negative.
That's right. We're gonna end on a high note. Well, sort of, because up next, it's time for Panic or Patience. We'll tell you if we think your team is moving in the right direction.
Cancer.
Are you out there? What's panic mode right now?
Are you in the Muzak elevator situation as well?
Right. No concern. You're just starting quarterback.
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the elevator with the music. A little jazz would be nice as well.
You know why? You were so fast, the director was running with the lights. That's how fast you were.
If it's panic, hit the button. And these things happen.
Need the red lights.
There they are. See that?
That was Jedi worthy right there.
Well, here it is. Here's the button. And no one needs to attack. You know, it's not going anywhere. That poor thing takes a beating. So this is an interesting time of year to do Panic or Patience. So because for some of these teams, their season is over, and we can talk about next season. Are we panicked, or are we showing some patience in regard to the future? Okay? So work with me here. How about the Seahawks? Their playoff hopes officially over. Pete Carroll reiterated today on ESPN Seattle radio that mainstays Cliff Averill and Cam Chancellor will have a tough time playing football again, both with season-ending neck injuries. Also addressed his own retirement.
I'm fired up about it. I'm ready to go. Any of those other conversations that you guys heard or wanted to ask questions about, you don't even have to ask them. I ain't going anywhere. I'm fired up to be here and can't wait to get going. And I feel great, and I'm pumped, and I need to translate that and transfer that into the rest of the program so everybody's ready to go. We need you guys to be jacked up too. You know, you're going to kick back and take it easy now. You're going to do your work and bust it and see what you can uncover. You know, everybody's in it, and so we couldn't be more fired up about that.
Having said that, we asked the question yesterday, you know, is Seattle's window closing? Is it shut? A lot of changes. Folks are getting older.
A lot of changes. Folks are getting older, and I'm panicking
Yeah.
about the situation in Seattle.
About 2018.
They expect to be, a Super Bowl team. Division's getting better because you look at San Francisco and you look at Lewis's Rams. I mean, obviously that matters. I think the other thing is this. Cam Chancellor was kind of a tone center for that defense. No Cam potentially going forward. Then you look at that defensive line. Obviously, Cliff Averill is part of the problem, but Michael Bennett also wasn't the same guy. He's most likely not going to be there. You look at the situation with Jimmy Graham. It's a good shot. He's not going to be there. He really was their red zone offense because they had no running game in the red zone. And so I think it's a Seattle team that's going to undergo major, major changes, and they had been so dominant.
Listen, you look at that depth chart, and it's just question mark, question mark,
Yeah.
question mark, question mark.
Yep.
That doesn't make it any easier. Panic. Okay, fair enough. All right, how about this? The Cowboys finished the 2017 season. They were 9-7. They missed the playoffs just a year after winning 13 games for the third time in franchise history. Jerry Jones said it Sunday. He said it again today. My head coach isn't going anywhere. Jason Garrett is the right man for the job. He continues to say that. So you presume, will stay in place. They've got a quarterback. Panic or patience in Dallas?
I'm going to be patient.
Oh.
Okay, and I'll tell
Can we
you
get
why.
the elevator music?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not doing Trey's ridiculous dance, though. But I will say this. Look, I think there'll be some changes at the coordinator position potentially. Look, I'm not speaking for Jerry Jones, never would, but I think there'll be some changes there that would help this football team. I think the Ezekiel Elliott saga really threw this team for a loop, and they constantly had to address this over and over and over again. But fundamentally, this football team is put together the right way. They invested in the offensive line heavily. It will be a strength. It will continue to be a strength. Zeke will continue to be a strength. They will have to adjust on the perimeter as far as what Dez Bryant's role is, and they will need another perimeter weapon. And on the defensive side, they have to take care of DeMarcus Lawrence. They have to continue to add depth at linebacker and get better secondary play. But I don't see there any reason for this team to panic. I still think fundamentally the foundation is there for this football team to contend.
Listen, it's never a one-man game, but you have to wonder what would have been without Ezekiel Elliott missing those 6 games. Let's talk about the Broncos, shall we? They missed the playoffs both seasons since winning Super Bowl 50. First-year head coach Vance Joseph told by John Elway he returned. Quarterback consistency and stability, a major question moving forward. Here's John Elway.
First of all, Happy New Year to everybody. There's nobody happier than me that 2017's over. Maybe Vance. Second, right. It's my responsibility, to think about other options and, kind of see what would be best for the football team. And so, we thought about different options, but ultimately my goal was to stay with Vance and give him that shot. And obviously I would say that giving him the best opportunity to be successful.
As a first-time head coach, I can say this, early on in the season, I didn't do a good job of pushing our coaches, to make the proper changes that I thought, could have helped us. I wasn't very good at coaching the coaches, so I'll get better at that. So that was one of my shortcomings.
So there's Elway, there's Vance Joseph. What do the players say?
Well, I talked to Chris Harris and Von Miller, and they said, look, we love Vance Joseph. We feel like he can be a good motivator. He's smart defensively. He's very passionate. But at the same time, he said, we need a quarterback who can stabilize this position. Once we started with Trevor Siemian, we changed the quarterbacks 5 times in the season. We had the mistakes on special teams, one of 6 teams that had multiple touchdowns given up on special teams and what have you. They improved on run defense. They improved the run offense, although they got rid of Eric Studesville. So they feel like this is the coach that they can contribute to and that they believe in.
Well, they cycled through, as you mentioned, 3 different starting quarterbacks, and that just makes it difficult to have a successful season.
You always pick the Rams. Please be different this week. Please be different.
Really?
I can't believe you do that.
Still to come on NFL Live. It scares me every time. Hat Tuesday. Who are we all in on as we enter Wild Card Weekend?
Your pizza now comes with a side of pizza, but not just any pizza, a Papa John's pizza. Right now, when you buy any pizza at regular menu price, you get 1 free. It's buy 1 pizza, get 1 free.
Better try to agree.
What goes on?
We're going to have a class back in his helmet. Who gets hit?
Let me see your head. How confident are you?
We really can't be trusted. That's the bottom line. Press coverage, though, some more good news from the Los Angeles Times. Todd Gurley's performance this season for fantasy football owners has inspired more than $33,000 in donations. to Shriners Hospitals for Children as of Tuesday morning. And that, of course, is something we can all be all in on. So we start there.
Yes.
Okay. You're not. Wait. We're gonna let Adam Schefter go first. If that's all right. Adam, he's trying to steal your thunder. What you got?
Well, Wendy, I know the Jaguars have lost 2 straight games, but they won the AFC South. They are in the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and they're going to be home Sunday to play the tough Buffalo Bills. But the Jacksonville Jaguars are a dangerous team in the postseason, and I am all in on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Saxonville. He's
I
all
see a
in.
scepter.
All right. What you got?
Seriously, folks.
Oh, my gosh.
So there we
Just
go.
knock it off and
Yeah.
just get on board. Why
Right.
on this? Stop
if
fighting
you're
this.
going to,
Okay, Kansas City Chiefs. Look, I'm all in on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm all in on
thought you
Kareem
picked
Hunt.
one. What happened?
Okay,
Well,
Kareem
what happened?
We
Hunt.
need him to pick someone other than the
Kareem
Rams.
Hunt, I'll tell you this right now. Look, this is a guy who I love. I know that the coaching staff loves down there. The offensive line has to play good defense. You better step up. Don't be one and done. I'm all in on the Chiefs. I'm betting on them.
All right, JoJo.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I am all in on the Minnesota Vikings, and I tell you why. I still think this team is feeling the pain from losing in the playoffs against the Seahawks 2 years ago when Blair Walsh pushed it wide right or whatever, wide, somewhere wide.
And so,
cold. Yes, and I feel like that is pushing them now. It's the same thing with my Carolina basketball team when they lost against Villanova and they won the championship because they're feeling the pain. It always comes back to the Tar Heels.
Positive. He's positive nowadays.
In this one, I'm all in on the Patriots, but with a little bit of a twist. This is their easiest path in the Belichick era to the Super Bowl. You think about it. You're going to get the Bills, Titans, or Chiefs at
You mean
home.
Brock
And then
Osweiler leading the
probably-
Texans wasn't easy?
Hey,
Hold on,
you
Bills
didn't get the
Mafia
Bills.
will not like
Listen,
that.
I know. Listen,
You know what?
I took some heat because I'm not necessarily
you-
all in that they're going to Minneapolis.
you're not all in.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
you're all
I
in
am
on.
all in. I'm all in that they're in. I'm just happy they're there.
That
You
already
know?
happened.
No, I don't
Just
care.
changing
I'm
the
all
rules.
in.
Like,
Show
way,
their
you
celebration.
guys
Tax
do
fans,
all in,
right
not
here.
in.
Book your hotel in Minnesota.
The jump
Just
is
go
next.
out and book your
Isaiah
hotel.
Thomas is
Okay.
all about his debut as a Cavs
Right here.
tonight. No,
This is
listen.
foolish.
No, it's, come on, go Bills. It's clearly the first day of 2018 virus from last season in scoring. Matt Ryan's downfield passing game could be a key reason why the Falcons have slipped. Ryan was the best in the league last year on throws 15 yards or more downfield, but those numbers have dropped immensely from his 2016 MVP campaign. And of course, it took this Falcons offense, it seemed like anyway, a little bit of time to sort of get on track and look like the machine they were last season. So as we look at these pivotal matchups, because it's the game within the game, if you will, let's start at the top with the quarterbacks. And you know what? I'm not going to let Lewis weigh in here, not yet, because
Really?
that's a known commodity. I know where he's going, yes. Matt Ryan or Jared Goff.
Statistics support me.
Just be quiet. My mama said, you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say it at all. We'll just leave it as that. Man, you gotta play. I don't care if we out the playoffs or not. I don't care. Just come up, show up, play. That's why we play this game. Show up, play.
Do you feel like everyone's been doing that?
I don't. I really don't. Just going through the motions, but like everybody just playing to get through.
Well, it almost feels like the Falcons and Rams offensives have traded places. The Rams enter the postseason as the league's top scoring offense. That was the Falcons last year. LA has the largest increase.
Big window throws just have not been there. Now, that's not to say that the wide receivers haven't always helped them, because I'll tell you what, sometimes these guys aren't getting off the line of scrimmage very clean, and they're definitely not finishing with catches very cleanly. They've had way too many drops. But right now, in totality, everything that's supporting Jared Goff leads to him, obviously, I believe, having the matchup.
So we'll talk about those wide receivers in just a minute, but
Yeah.
you've got Devontae Freeman here and then a two-headed monster over here, really. So who has the edge on the ground?
It's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Gurley.
Yeah.
Just because he's just a three-down dynamo right now. That right now should be maybe the league MVP. And as much as I respect Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman, look, Todd, right now, because of how they're calling plays and the rhythm that they're in right now, it's just insane how these two guys have gone from 2016 to 2017 and look like totally different players, meaning him and Goff.
You know what, this is one of those situations where you hate that there's got to be a loser in the decision. I mean, it really is, because I think both Atlanta backs are
Right, we got three good players up here.
are good players. And you look at some of the things that, I mean, Devontae Freeman, to me, he would make a lot of teams significantly better. I think he's that type of runner. Todd Gurley, though, is a special player. I think at a different level type of player than even the two Falcons backs. And his versatility, I think, probably was a little bit unnoticed.
Yeah, well, you're next. Let's
The
attempt.
statistics support you. You know what else does? How Matt Ryan struggled this year.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
so I actually think the advantage, based on how the guys are playing now, benefit the Rams. I think Jared Goff has played better than Matt Ryan. I think you look at some of the games Matt Ryan, it appears that their offense has struggled. I know that you've talked about it. I've talked about it. I think Matt Ryan, in some cases, has held them back a little bit.
Yeah. The timing, the rhythm of their offense, particularly in the red zone, throwing the football, just does not look even close to 2016. Some of the clean pocket